festivalcircuit.com and the director of the Oregon Short Film Festival. We have an event coming up on October the 14th, our fall 2022, excuse me, that was a tongue twister, fall 2022 Oregon Short Film Festival at the Clinton Street Theater near downtown Portland. We screen all kinds of films at this event, from music videos to TV pilots to drama to action, comedy, science fiction, you name it, and films from all over the world. And today we're joined by Dan Nicholls, who is nominated for the Best International Director Award, hailing from Canada, and for his work on the film That's Life. Hello, Dan. How are you?
Hey, Michael. I'm well. Thank you. It's good to see you. Thanks for having me here to chat today. I'm so excited.
Me too. It's good to finally talk to you. You know, we've
Yeah.
obviously you've had a few films in our festivals, and your work is known by judges all over. And your work has a special appeal to many different groups of judges in many different geographies. And it's really unique that you're able to get that kind of feedback from two films now. That's Life and
Yeah.
Giraffe. Selected to Austin Comedy, Austin After Dark. You just all over the place, my man.
That's great to hear, because there's certainly places where we're not there. So no, certainly the film festival circuit is just wonderful groups of judges over the past couple of years at some of the festivals that we've entered into, and I've been so fortunate, especially with both films, which can be guess weird, odd, not exactly mainstream for everybody, but to be accepted and embraced for that weirdness is anytime someone says like, oh yeah, draft, that was really messed up, or that was really weird. Like I said before, I'm like, that's what I love to hear. I agree. It is messed up. It's weird. So very fortunate. Thank you.
For sure. And that we created a dark comedy category for a reason. We created dark drama categories for a reason, because not everything is mainstream. We've even gone as far as making the Austin After Dark Film Festival, which is strictly a mature content event, followed up by the Atlanta After Dark Film Festival, which will be starting this year.
Cool.
It's an event. Yeah, thanks. It's an event that's intended for mature audiences. Sometimes things are out of the mainstream, and sometimes when people are submitting to festivals, they all look the same. There's a list. It says the word film festival in their name. But sometimes you have to pay attention to what the film festival is actually accepting. And there are several that are 100% mainstream down the middle. And just think about it like this. You're a short filmmaker. You make a film that has some mature content in it. You're going to screen at this major festival. They're probably going to put you and maybe one other short at the front of like a feature film. And if it doesn't fit the vibe of the feature film, it's not going to be there. You're not going to show some kind of a dark, weird, short film before some family drama. It's just not going to work. So,
please don't put Giraffe or That's Life before anything for family audiences. And that's,
I got more. Go ahead.
Just the acceptance with, like, you mentioned the After Dark, with both of those titles were very, very humbled and very fortunate that both films will be playing at the Austin After Dark Film Festival in November. But that's certainly, the After Dark seems to be like where both of the films have been finding their groove, for sure, which is, I guess, maybe where it just means that's where I'm comfortable. Despite how vastly different those two films are, there's definitely a lot of stylistic and thematic overlaps that do definitely lend themselves to that kind of, they're like genre films, but it's very difficult to pinpoint the genre. Ostensibly, I would say dark comedy. Yes, but I think it's really, really telling that both of those are primarily dark comedy. Giraffe has been accepted and awarded as a horror film in some horror festivals. That's Life won Best Drama at a festival in Toronto earlier this year, and that's just kind of, I guess, what I like. I like that subversion, without spoiling anything with any film. But hopefully if the film you think you start watching at the end is something completely different, and like Life, it's kind of hard to pinpoint. Just attach a label to everything. So yeah, definitely those open arms with the After Dark crowd are always embraced by us right back. It's a very warm embrace. I love it.
Good stuff, man. Well, It's good to hear. I sent out a survey once to Austin Comedy Film Festival, and I asked people, why did you submit here? This guy from the UK, he says,
Mm.
Michael, I looked at your lineup. You'll screen anything, mate. You know, I don't know. To this day, I don't even know if that's a compliment or not. But I noticed one year, we with our dark comedy category with Austin Comedy Film Festival once, I screened like 9 films in a row where at the end the main character just got killed at the end. I started
Yeah.
thinking to myself, what are we doing here? Like, what's our message that we're sending? But
Mm.
your work kind of fits in that. The judges enjoy the non-linear approach, definitely the ooey gooey surprises at the end, that are just kind of take a left turn. And I actually saw people mouthing at Texas Short Film Festival screening Giraffe. I remember several people in the audience, and you could see them mouthing like, "What the fuck?" Like when they were watching it. And
Thank
that
you.
was,
That's great.
that ending. I'm not going to give it away,
No.
but people were truly. It was a touch of the bizarre, that's for sure. And so,
Thank you. Wow, that is quite literally like the highest compliment I could hope to hear about that film. Of someone literally melding what the F. Um, it played in person as part of it won Best After Dark Film at the Vancouver Short Film Festival
Mhm.
here, and I got to attend in person. And I there's a moment, even before it gets messed up, where it should hopefully click to the audience about what's gonna come. And I heard someone behind me go, "Oh no." And I just thought, like, oh, you got it. You weren't expecting it, but then you got it. And the fact that they were surprised by that moment, I was like, I really feel like we did something successful, because again, up till, it's long too. It's like 17 minutes and
Sure.
ostensibly like just like a messed up comedy for, 14 of those. We comedy, thriller, horror, fantasy, and then
Yeah.
we end
Yeah.
and then we end it. Um, yeah, no, we got stories about that I could go on to, but they would all involve spoilers. But yeah, thank you. That's great to hear, and I hope. Uh, I don't think That's Life will have maybe quite that. It's not quite as like jarring and extreme,
Mhm.
but also the last line in the film is also "what the fuck." So I hope also it does give that that feeling too.
It's good. I mean, definitely very different films,
Mm.
but definitely similar in a vibe that it's kind of awkwardly going in a direction that you're I don't know, maybe you're just like, what am I doing here? You're
Yeah.
like going through this journey. Where are we going here? Where's this director going here? So, kudos to you and your team. Let's give the
Thank you.
synopsis just so people aren't.
Oh
You're
yeah.
very welcome.
Yeah.
To that, actually, let's do both. What's the synopsis of That's Life?
That's Life. So That's Life is about a guy named Tom who goes to his family's cabin to kill himself, but he's interrupted by his 2 brothers who try to talk him out of it, and they also encounter a few surprises of their own along the way. And that's again nominated for Best Dark Comedy, I think, at the Oregon Film Festival,
Mhm.
Short Film Festival, and then for the Austin After Dark, we have Giraffe, which is about a depressed young zookeeper named Greg who's trying to get over his ex-girlfriend Sarah, but his ex's brother Crad holds him back from moving on. Sorry, that's a weird name. I always stumble on it. Ryland, the
Yeah.
cinematographer and editor of Giraffe, he and I went to like an improv show once, and they're always like, "Hey, we're gonna need a name," and he just goes Crad, and they were like, "Do we hear? Was that Brad? No, with a C."
Is that
Weird
a
name,
sound
weird
effect?
character.
Is that a
Yeah.
sound effect? Yeah, excellent. So let's get into That's Life. Why this story? I mean, obviously, you talk about dark comedy, you talk about suicide. You're
Yeah.
going into some territory that's going to make people feel uncomfortable. Why this story?
Um, I think it's partly because of that uncomfortableness
Hmm.
that I wanted to explore it. So That's Life is written and produced and starring a guy named Trevor Lawless,
Hmm.
who's an absolute just beautiful human being. I've known him since
Hmm.
film. So he started my very first student short film in film school, and we just kept in touch over the years. He was in acting, I was in film production, and then he sent me this script. We'd always hung out, caught a flick or coffee or whatever, and talked about maybe collaborating. Then he sent me the script for That's Life, And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, these are topics that are becoming more prevalent in media, specifically suicide and depression, once very
Mm.
taboo, now being more accepted as, this is something that happens. It isn't just, uh, something to be swept under the rug. But with That's Life, it approached it in a way that I hadn't seen done before, and it also asked questions that I hadn't heard asked before. And I think a lot of the dialogue in it, hopefully, if you walk into the film with one view or the other on uh, God, it sounds so dark once you start talking about this movie. It's really funny. There's a lot of laughs, folks. But this justifiable suicide, there are moments where I'm reading the script and I was like, I don't know if I can argue with that. I don't know if I like that, but I don't know if I can argue with that. And it's articulated in a way that I hadn't heard before.
Mm.
He uses an analogy without spoiling anything about going to a bad movie. And after a while, you've seen so many bad movies that you just wonder, okay, can I spare myself from, sitting through the next bad movie? And I was like, this is very interesting. And also, to its credit, the script has these foils for him, these other points of view, so that we
Mm.
can challenge everything
Mm.
on screen and in text. And then again, without spoiling anything, hopefully leaves it at a point where we realize, oh, there's still no easy answer. Maybe as much as we thought we knew at the beginning is the same at the end.
Mm.
So not trying to solve anything in our short 12 or 13 minutes, but definitely trying to raise questions. And it's just a subject matter. I suffer from mental illness and depression.
Mm.
It's something that's very close to my heart. And I find also too often, society takes the edge of, or the side of like, okay, that's bad, must be stopped. And this film is kind of like, okay, let's just hear out what he's feeling. He
Sure.
wants to do this before telling him he's bad, and as some of the characters do, like, no, you can't do it because of this, that, and the other thing. Here's the point of view of, no, I want to, and here's why. So
Mm.
just kind of giving that other side a voice.
We get a little. You kind of got into my next question, which was like the motivation for doing this in the first place. Because you do touch on a lot of issues, and I don't know where in the timeline of COVID did this film get shot, written, shot, and produced? Was it beforehand? Where in the timeline was this?
Very, very funny story. All the timelines worked out well with this. We actually shot this before COVID. It was filmed in November of 2019 in Pemberton, British Columbia. Then a few months later, obviously, COVID, and as a result, everybody on the post side of things, everybody, I don't need to explain this. Everybody had their lives disrupted, and there's a lot of, holy God, what is my priority for the next question mark number of months? So it kind of fell by the wayside for priority lists, especially when you're calling on favors. It's tough to be like, hey, I know times are tough, but come on, get on that free task you said you do. That's just not who we are. So as things started to get back to normal, we were like, okay, let's kind of, bring in, now that we've had a bit of time, bring in an outside voice, who's Rylan, my friend and collaborator over many years, brought him in to do a fresh edit of the short and gave it life. If it's, successful, like a gigantic part of that is because of Rylan. And I hope he's there to soak up a big part of that in Oregon, and when I can't be there, because he literally is the savior of the film to me.
Wow.
Coming in, us dusting it off, being like, "Remember this thing we did? You want to remember me talking about it? You want to take another look?" And him being like, "Oh yeah, I know what we were gonna do with it." So
Oh
yeah.
man, yeah, it's good to have a team.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good to have a team. Getting into this, so it's very interesting. I was wondering because a lot of people came out of COVID with comedy, and it was kind of like almost like therapy a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And you talk about, thanks for being transparent about your own struggles and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
This particular film, there had to be some motivation for creating this. There had to be some personal attachment or some hook or something. I feel like there's something there, man. This came from an incident or a person or a story or something. Tell me about it.
For That's Life.
Yes.
Well, the script, not to either give him all the credit or throw him under the bus, depending on how you look at it, is all Trevor.
Oh
And
yeah.
he's very, he
Mm.
and I are very, very simpatico in, and I don't want to speak for him, and frankly, I don't know, but I'm open about my mental illness. I know he just
Mm.
has kind of a dark view of the world,
Gotcha.
hence the dark comedy. I
Hmm.
shouldn't say he has a dark view of the world. He's able to sometimes view the world through the lens of dark comedy in a way that's
Hmm.
very biting and very sharp.
Hmm.
I've never met someone with a bigger heart. He's the only guy. My wife is always like, no matter what photo I post that has you in it, Trevor's the only one who consistently hits the like button and sends me the googly eyes. I'm like, that's the kind of guy
Yeah.
he is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but honestly, I think it was just kind of built from, um, the it's very much like a three-hander with like the three characters. The relationship between those three guys in real life as well. I think this is just a
Mm.
lot of like, um, kind of the conversation style, but also
Mm.
I think for Trevor too, and for me too, a big part of it is like, hey, we get to have this conversation in a setting with people that we might normally not feel comfortable doing, especially because it's a young man being vulnerable to other young men. To they're just not related in real life, but in the short, they're brothers, which makes it, I guess, a little bit easier. But for us to be able to say, hey, here are some things that we actually wanted to say that we actually would like to discuss. Uh, we wouldn't normally get a chance to be this vulnerable or to say these things and be like, yeah, you know what? Maybe sometimes it's okay depending on the circumstance, and maybe sometimes
Sure.
it's not okay depending on the circumstance. But just knowing like through the medium of short filmmaking, we can
Hmm.
kind of say those things and also start those conversations and pose those questions in a safe space.
Hmm.
I guess the medium is our safe space for discussing these sensitive subjects, I suppose.
Mm.
Yeah. I don't know if there's any one thing that would have
Sure.
tipped it off. So more just, years of growing old and bitterness and drinking movies.
What production wise? Just go tech geek for me, real quick. Did you learn anything from this production that you remember? I know it was a few years ago, but
Yeah,
what did you learn?
no, most definitely I did. We shot this all with anamorphic lenses, which is really cool. So that in itself is a
Hmm.
learning experience. Um, and that was definitely a big thing for post as well, for the post production flow, just of squeezing and unsqueezing on import,
Hmm.
uh, just where the distortion really hits the frame and all that. So that was a big lesson, but it also opened up more possibilities just in my way of thinking, because I was like, okay, when you shoot anamorphic, excuse me, in the films in like a scope format, you're actually capturing a much wider image.
Hmm.
So that gave me a bit of latitude in shots to be like, let's add a bit of a dolly back and forth here in post because we have the image to work with. You know,
Gotcha.
there's moments when we kind of get into um, Tom's lead character's headspace where, you know, instead of just keeping like our normal cropped anamorphic image, where we said, let's just put that full sucker on frame and basically make it look like we're like double letterboxing it. So it's very claustrophobic,
Hmm.
very like narrow height wise, but very wide and distorted as all hell. So you're kind of like, you can kind of see like, okay, maybe this is how Tom is seeing the
Hmm.
world right now. So we were able to use it to our benefit to help liven it up in post, which I didn't expect. That was probably the biggest thing where I like, in the future, now that I know that it's there's all these saving graces, it's kind of cool.
Yeah. Was that Sony A7 you were shooting it on, or was it some other camera?
I think it was a Sony. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Again, it's been a
Yeah.
while.
The
Um,
anamorphic look is I can kind of tell. It's very well shot, by the way. Cinematography is really good.
yeah, it looks great.
So,
Yeah, that's partly Pemberton too, when we had like such a great location. Just,
mm,
hey, we have this tough conversation. Well, let's shoot it in front of an area that's absolutely beautiful. Free production value. It was
that helps.
we lucked out. Yeah.
Well, what do you have planned for the future? What's going on?
Well, that's a big question. For
Like next
for
project, are we getting That's Life too? Or are we gonna you moving on to something else?
Well, now that you mention it, actually, with That's Life, Trevor's written like a feature version of the film,
Really? I was
which,
joking. Yeah, that's
yeah, no, he's expanded it into a feature. Um, Same kind of core concept. Somebody wants to kill themselves, brotherly attachment. It doesn't go the way that you expect. Very minor. There's a fourth character uh, in the film. Do you know who played the fourth character in That's Life, by the way?
uh-oh, no.
It was me. I didn't
Oh
credit
my
myself. I
goodness.
hate doing that. I've done some acting before, and he was like, "No, I just think you'd be good for the role, and we want to cast you." And I thought, "Hey, sure, okay." It's too much
Wow.
confidence in me, maybe, but anyway, it's kind of the general concept, but expanded bigger. The scope is much larger. It's much darker and funnier, and again, you just get more room to explore these concepts. So I would love to be able to, have a successful festival run with That's Life, and hopefully generate some interest, to hopefully find some funding. Anyone knows anybody for the feature version? Because the script is very, and I'm biased, of course, but I do think it's very, very good. It gave me the same reactions I had reading the short script, where I'm like, this is something that I would have thought but never brought up out loud because it's a very difficult
Sure.
thing to say. So that would be great to get going. But for me, myself, and I'm just in post. I got a message while we are doing this that the visual effects is finished for the next project called Bear Apocalypse, which we shot as a proof of concept pilot. It stars Corey from Giraffe. He co-wrote it as well, and he and I produced it together along with three other people. And I directed it, and he acted in it. Uh, and it's about after the bears take over the world, how do we survive? Bears take over society, humans in the woods, how do we survive? So it's very dark,
Mm.
very funny, F-bombs and blood, just like the past few projects. And then
Okay.
I'm actually in pre-production right now on a new short film called Stuffy, another dark comedy horror, with a brand new group of collaborators who I've never worked with before. So
Oh,
I'm
okay.
very excited about that. And for
You're
my
busy.
yeah, for our friends, and I never get to say this because like I talk a lot with people in Canada, but if you're in the States, load up Amazon Prime and you can watch Pulk, Pulk, a feature film that I executive produced that's being distributed in the States and on Blu-ray and everything. Can't say
Very
it's not
cool.
available in Canada, so I can't
Oh,
sell it
give
for
me a
people up
link.
here.
Yeah, give
I
me a
will.
link or something. Yeah,
I'll hit you
and
up
I'll
with that.
definitely.
Oh, yeah, I'll hit you up with that. And then Giraffe will be able to be viewed online soon as well. So looking forward to hitting the festivals, especially in November, bringing both Giraffe and That's Life to Austin and sharing them
Yeah, did you
with
find
everybody.
distribution for Giraffe, or are you guys self-releasing it on?
We're just gonna, yeah, just self-release,
Yeah, very cool. Very
Yeah,
cool, man. Well, both are very good films.
thank you.
Thanks for being, like I said, but thanks for being transparent about all this stuff, and I
Yeah,
really
of
get a lot out
course.
of talking shop with you, and
Yeah, this has
you
been a
know,
lot of fun. A lot of fun, and I really want to say thank you to you for doing so much. For those not in the know, Michael is basically the grandmaster of like everything, just a wizard. I don't know how you do it. And also a huge thank you to the judges in Oregon and as well the judges in Austin at the After Dark and at the Comedy Film Festival for your support in inviting our films, or one, whether it's one at one festival or two at one, or neither. Just the
yeah.
consideration that we get from you from the film festival circuit, the consideration alone, just I can't express how much it means to us, and the recognition is like the icing on the cake. Very fortunate. I'm very humbled and very grateful to be a part of it, and invited to join in with the other wonderful films that I just can't wait to see on the big screen.
Thank you. It's a fun lineup. We will have an intermission so that we don't burst any more bladders trying to watch eight hours of films. But
Intermission and
yeah,
food, and we'll be fine.
that's right. There's food. You can go and come as you please at all of our events, and Awesome Film Society Cinemas. When you see that on projected on 4K DCP, it's like
Ooh.
eye popping, eye
Oh yeah,
popping.
we,
Yeah,
we
you're
just
gonna.
delivered delivered the other day our DCPs for them, and I'm very excited just for that fact alone.
Nice.
Yeah, to see
Well,
that on the big screen.
man, well, thank you for the kind words as well. I have a team, and that's how I'm able to do these interviews while all that stuff gets done in the
Well,
background. But
thank you to your team as well.
thank you. They make us look good, and in our,
The
we
royal
want
Michael, the greater we. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Festival King. That's a kind of has a nice ring to it. Now we're trying to open up every time zone, at least in North America anyway. We're looking for a place in either Phoenix or Denver or something to do a festival, so you can kind of get that whole like 4 time zone thing going with all of us. But the whole idea behind the company is just for people to get a whole cross section and kind of be operated in the same way, but yet get different opinions from each festival. I mean, what people said about Giraffe at Texas Short Film Festival is different from Oregon Short Film Festival. There's really the crowds, the experience, having the out of body experience of sitting there and watching your film, on screen with just the rest of the audience. It really is something different. As long as we can afford it, we're going to stay live. We're going to keep doing live events. We're going to keep putting out live content like this and try to showcase things from all over the world. And when you come to our festivals, it's really something different. And your films, you make us look good, man. I can't wait till you see the screen test. I mean, I'm going to be testing some stuff next week. And
Oh, wow.
yeah, I can't wait until you see, like, it really is breathtaking. 4K DCP is stunning. I mean, because they're screening obviously the big movies like, Top Gun and all that, that type of theater. So it's good to, when you're a filmmaker, you get that opportunity. So, but again, content is king, and what you're bringing to us is great. Your new projects sound really cool for the After Dark film festivals, and keep Atlanta in mind. It is our first season. We got a ton of submissions, and I see it growing. We're at Plaza Theater, which is the oldest and largest theater in the state of Georgia, and so we're looking forward to just a great show out there. Really wonderful people that are waiting for us to set up shop in Atlanta and do something a little bit different, and at a classic venue that everybody in Atlanta knows exactly where it is. So we're looking forward to bringing our brand there. So we appreciate you. Thank you for making us look good.
Hey, well, thank you. I appreciate it again.
My friend, have a good one.
You too. Take